Hello everyone, today we're talking about something many of us can relate to, feeling frustrated while drawing. You know the feeling when you plan to create a beautiful drawing, but after multiple attempts, it just isn't working out. Don't worry, you are not alone. I had planned to draw water lily pond scene, but after trying multiple times, it just wasn't working out for me. In this video, I will share my struggles and walk you through my thinking process while doing this drawing. My hope is that we can overcome those frustrating moments together and stay inspired to keep creating. Finding time to draw can be very challenging. For me, the fear of starting a new piece has always been there, worrying it won't turn out well, and feeling discouraged as a result. To help with this, I recently started learning doodling style drawings on Skillshare. I'm hoping it will help me overcome this fear and get more comfortable to sketch without the pressure of making everything perfect. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. If you are not familiar, Skillshare is the largest online community for creative minds, offering an extensive range of classes in fields like art, design, music, business, and beyond. Recently, I've been taking some doodling classes on Skillshare. A couple of my favorites are Intuitive Line Drawing, Invite Creative Flow with Doodle Mindset by Jules Magalski, and Doodle Magic, Beginner and Advanced Technique for Doodling and Drawing Fun by Yasmina Creates. If you are looking for pick up a new hobby or further improve your skills, Skillshare is a great community to join. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. Now let's dive into this drawing. I've made a free worksheet that summarizes how to draw rocks. You can find the link in the description. If you would like to see the real-time speed video of this drawing and get a line work worksheet, consider joining my Patreon. On my Patreon, you will have access to extra real-time drawing videos and more detailed worksheets. One thing that often frustrates me about my pencil sketch is that they are never as clean as I would like, even though over the years they have improved. I often see some artists who have these perfectly clean and confident pencil outlines, sometimes even without any draft lines. But I'm not there yet, and maybe I never will be. And that's okay. We each have our own art journey. It's important to set goals and work toward them, but consistently comparing ourselves to others can hold us back from growing. When I started this drawing, I wasn't really sure how it would turn out. There was lots of hesitation during the sketch process. I did a lot of practice beforehand, but I still wasn't confident in the best approach. The foundation of this drawing, such as composition, is very important. Deciding where to place each rock and plant and how big or small they should be plays a key role in creating a sense of balance. For this piece, I wanted to make the focal point around the rocks. The size of the shrub around them is important. At first, I placed it too centered, then made it too small. So I kept erasing my outline and adjusting. Since I'm not drawing from a photo, creating different plans on rocks to make it more three-dimensional can be tricky, especially when trying to keep the style loose without getting too caught up in details. So I kept sketching different options to visualize which approach might work best. The contour of the whole drawing is also really important. It is one of the trickiest parts for me. So I often do multiple sketches to experiment with different edges and see how they look. I want it to look natural and loose, but also very well balanced. For digital drawings, we can always go back and make some changes. But for drawing with pens and markers, that's not the case, so it's better to spend more time on the outline step. Once the pencil outline sketch was done, I felt a big sense of relief. Then came the nerve-wracking part, the line work. Creating loose and smooth line work does take practice, but finding time to draw every day can be very challenging. I don't draw every day either, So if you are feeling stressed about that, you are not alone. Instead of squeezing in a few minutes each day, I found bigger chunks of time a couple times a week to really focus on my drawing. I focus on a specific goal and try to stay consistent with my practice. Sometimes how you approach learning and the method you use can be more important than just drawing every day. Thankfully, the line work went fairly well. No major mistakes. I did hesitant on whether or not to outline the leaves on the water, so I decided to leave them blank for now, which led to one of the mistakes I made later in the drawing. I really enjoyed the rock coloring process. I think I managed to define each plane clearly, giving the rocks good volume. That was definitely an up moment in this drawing, but then, as with all creative process, there came a down moment. In this drawing, I tried a new medium, masking fluid. My goal was to save some white space for the goldfish. However, this ended up being my biggest mistake. While coloring the water, the masking fluid restricted my hand movement. I intended to use quick, wide, long strokes to keep the water minimal and clean. But after trying to go over it a few times to fill in the small blank areas around the fish, the water surface ends up looking messy. Frustration started to rise, and I really wanted to give up at this point, but everything else was coming together nicely, so I took a short break, took a deep breath, and reminded myself that imperfection is okay. Instead of striving for perfection, I needed to find a way to fix it. After coloring the shrubs and flowers, I started to feel better about the drawing. To fix the water, I needed a different approach. Instead of using wide strokes, I decided to draw water waves with lines to make the messy area less noticeable. After calming down, I continued working on this drawing, focused on coloring the rest of the piece to see if the mistake would become less noticeable. I also chose to use line work for the water lily leaves. Drawing quickly to create loose lines with speed made it hard to control where it goes, so I had to draw slowly. Drawing slowly made the lines look stiff and less cohesive with the rest of the drawing. I should have outlined the leaves before coloring, which would have allowed me to create loose lines easily. For small leaves, quick curved lines are no problem, but I struggled with larger shapes. Despite the mistakes on the water part being somewhat covered, I wasn't entirely happy with the color palette of this drawing, but I need to keep going. I slowed down and focused on adding darker values to each element to enhance the contrast. I always feel nervous about adding the darkest value, but if I don't give it a try, I will not know if it's too dark or just right. With each time of testing it out, I will learn and get better next time. Each drawing process has its ups and downs, and the enjoyment often feels like a small part of it, but that's also what makes it more valuable. Learning to draw is a long journey. It's not about just a quick win. It's about cultivating a deep and long-lasting joy that comes from seeing your progress over time. There are times when I feel nervous, discouraged, and frustrated, but these emotions also push me to keep going. I often feel that embracing all feelings during the drawing process is part of the art itself, even though they are invisible to others. We are all learning and trying to improve, but when our expectations are not met, frustrations can stand in the way. If you are feeling frustrated during your drawing, take a deep breath and remind yourself that it's okay not to love everything you create. Trust that sticking with it will pay off. Do not judge your drawings as simply good or bad. Instead, take time to observe your drawing process and analyze what you are creating. One of the exciting parts of hand drawing is that mistakes can be hard to fix or sometimes even permanent, but that's what makes it more thrilling. You never know what will happen, and you might create something beautiful by accident. Celebrate the small wins. like how I'm happy with how the rocks and the shops turned out in this drawing. After use a black brush pen to deepen some shadows and using white pen to highlight some areas, the drawing turned out not too bad. However, later in this video, I made one last mistake. I used the brush pen again to darken the waves in the water, but it ended up too dark. To fix it, I applied some white paint on top and then smudged it with a tissue. This will help lighten the color, but that area will look a little bit muddy. The drawing didn't turn out as I initially planned. I will definitely keep practicing drawing water lily ponds, trying different color palettes and aiming for a clean, soothing water texture. Meanwhile, I will shift it to another project to take a break and find new inspiration. When I return to this drawing, I hope to bring fresh ideas and create something new. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and it helps ease your frustration. Keep creating, you got this. I will see you in the next video.